So my name is Dr. Sheryl Duchess. I am a certified naturopathic doctor. I am the founder of the Institute of Naturopathic Wellness. I've studied naturopathy for over 28 years, and it's my passion to teach people how to get and stay healthy and have a really full life and have add more years to your life, but really the most important thing is add more quality to your years. If you want to learn more about the Institute or learn more about me, you can go to drsheryl.net and you can actually book a one-on-one free consult where I can give you more information about the Institute. So now let's dive in. So the digestive health, let's look at where we are in this country. It's not good, okay? We have over 44% of US adults experience acid reflux. So that's like food coming up the esophagus and you're not able to digest well, and that little sphincter at the top of your esophagus opens up and that acid comes up. How many people know somebody that suffers with acid reflux, right? I mean, it's rampant, okay? 31% experience these symptoms weekly. 20% suffer from chronic GERD, meaning almost every day they eat something and it comes up, and they end up taking medication. We'll talk about that in a moment. Then constipation, another one. How many people struggle? That was my issue. I mean, where they maybe go to the bathroom every other day or every third day or maybe once a week or twice a month. That was me. Okay. That you're going to learn a lot about that tonight. And that is so serious for people's health. Okay. Over 63 million Americans suffer from constipation. 16% of adults suffer chronically, and it jumps to 33% for adults over 60. Now, irritable bowel, that is where you have constipation and then diarrhea and constipation and then diarrhea. And it can be violent. You can be where you can't leave your home and things like that. That affects 10 to 15% of US population. And only 5 to 7% are formally diagnosed. They just live with it. They're like, well, I don't know what's going on, but I live with that, right? I know I've got one of my students on that suffered with that terribly. Okay. And then 61% of general GI report at least one digestive system every single week. All right. Now, here's another thing that's going on. Acid blocking drugs, PPIs, okay? These are drugs that you either buy over the counter or you'll get a prescription for that block your stomach acid. 65 million prescriptions written annually, okay? Over the counter heartburn remedies generate $2.2 billion yearly. Okay, laxatives over the counter, $2 billion are spent there, and 60% of those have with chronic pain and rely on laxatives. All right. So now the fact of the matter is these medications, although they might work for a little bit, they are causing major problems for you. Okay. First one is vitamin deficiency. When you block stomach acid, when you take a medication that blocks stomach acid, you're totally blocking the ability to digest your food. Okay. And you're going to be deficient in B12, in magnesium, in calcium, and in zinc. These minerals are so important to your health. And in the situation, also iron. And we have an increased risk of osteoporosis, bone fractures, kidney disease, dementia, pneumonia, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or C. diff, okay, and other gut infections. So we have a lot of issues when people are blocking their stomach acid. It really affects low stomach acid, impairs protein and mineral absorption. And really, I want to tell you that it is not, the problem isn't too much acid. It's actually that you don't have enough. When we get older, after the age of 50, or literally 40, we start dropping in what we call hydrochloric acid and pepsin and the enzymes that break down your food. That's why when you're young, you can eat a hot dog and pizza and all that stuff and it doesn't bother you. And then all of a sudden, middle age, you're like, wait a minute, why can't I eat this stuff anymore? You are not having enough enzymes to break down the food, okay? And that can lead to the bloating and the gas and the acid reflux because you don't have enough and the stomach knows it and it calls on excess acid. And now you get too much in acid and it's going to come up the esophagus, okay? So I'm going to teach you root causes of how to work with this tonight. This is my favorite subject in the whole world. I just love this little picture. And we're going to learn about how this whole digestive system works, all right? So, in order to fix it, we've got to understand how it works first and how it should work, and then we're going to work at how can we do the repair, all right? So, the digestive system starts with your mouth. You start chewing your food, and enzymes start to break down the food, okay? The salivary glands are part of digestion. So, you want to chew your food good. Then the food goes down the esophagus, okay? And there's a little valve that is right there, and it will now go into your stomach, okay? The stomach's job is to churn and break down that food and turn it into a liquid state called chyme. Okay. And it takes several hours for that to happen. And then right here at this juncture, at the bottom of your stomach, the little pyloric valve will open up and allow the food to go into your small intestines. Okay. A little bit at a time, it's going to squirt into the small intestines. Okay. So we want the stomach to have stomach acid. We want it to have enzymes so it can break down that food so then it can squirt down the small intestines. In your small intestines is where the real absorption takes place, not in the stomach. The stomach is the washing machine. It's breaking it up, it's churning it, okay? But then it's going to squirt in, and that chyme now has all those vitamins and all those minerals and all those nutrients from your food and your supplements, and it's going to now go into your small intestines. Then the absorption, I'm going to show you some diagrams, but then after that, after we utilize that nutrients and it gets in the bloodstream, the unused food is going to go into your colon. And that colon also doesn't just eliminate old fecal matter, it makes B12. It makes enzymes and the friendly bacteria. So all of this, and let me explain something to you. This, if we straighten this out and we could shine a flashlight through it, it goes all the way from your mouth all the way to the end. It is an open hollow tube inside of your body. Okay. And it's a one cell layer that protects you. So it's super, super important that we get this digestion right, because after tonight's lecture, you're going to be like, oh my God, I really need to work on digestion because it's going to fix so many other things. Okay. So again, this is stuff you're getting an advanced class tonight. Okay. This is like being in my course. Okay. So if you like this, you will love my course. All right. So why healthy digestive system affects your whole body? When the digestive system is off, it doesn't just affect your gut. It's going to affect your immune. It's going to affect your nervous system, your brain, your thinking. It's going to affect your musculoskeletal. It'll affect the reproduction system because it's going to affect the hormones. It affects your respiratory, your sinuses. It affects your skin. It affects your cardiovascular. There's not one thing that the digestive system doesn't touch. Okay. So that's why this is such an important topic. So, what can cause the digestive health problems? Okay. First of all, one of the top ones is prescription medication. And I'm not telling you tonight to go off of all your meds. Okay. I'm definitely not telling you that. But you need to analyze those meds, and we need to figure out what they are depleting of your body. And do you really need them? Is there a way that you can take less medication? If you're going to a really good doctor, he's going to agree with me that if we can figure out a way to naturally support your body and do less medication, that's going to be better. Okay. So, poor diet, okay, high refined foods, sugar, low in fiber, packaged foods are definitely an issue for your gut. They do not know what to do with those foreign chemicals. Okay. Overabundance of non beneficial bacteria, where we get too much bacteria of the bad bacteria. Okay. That's going to ferment and it's going to cause yeast. That is really a problem in your gut. Not drinking enough liquids. Okay. Or drinking the wrong kind of liquids like alcohol and too much coffee and acidity and things like that. Low stomach acid, not having enough stomach acid to break down the food. And we're going to talk about how to fix that. And then the big one, I put it last, but really should be way at the top, is stress. Excess cortisol, when you're making too much cortisol from too much stress in your life, it's going to affect your small intestine. It's going to affect your digestive system. It affects everything. Now, I'm going to go into these in more depth, but you can take a screenshot of this if you want to. Okay. So now, what are some of the signs of poor digestive health? Do you have it? So if you're bloating after you eat, that's a sign, okay? Belching, burping, flatulence, a lot of gas, like fermentation is happening all the time. Changeable bowel movements, again, constipation, diarrhea, either one. Food intolerances, where you have certain foods you just can't eat, right, Laura Lynn? Certain foods just trigger you and you go off because the intestines are so irritated. The lining is just not healthy. So certain foods like tomato sauce and things like that will just set you off. Okay. Skin reactions, rashes, psoriasis, eczema, all this is related to gut. If you've been told by your doctor that you have a B12 deficiency, B12 is made in your large intestines with friendly bacteria. If you don't have good B12, you have low bacteria, okay? Nausea, constipation, bacterial overgrowth, lethargy, feeling tired of them, hormone disruption. Your hormones are out of balance. Your thyroid might be out of balance, okay? And iron deficiency. All of these things are gut related. These are symptoms of an unhealthy digestive system. Now, if this picture looks good to you, we have a problem. Okay. If it looks nasty, I see Ron laughing. He's like, oh Lord, she's picking on me. Okay. But things like phosphoric acid in soda is terrible for you. All that white flour, the gluten, the trans fats, the fried foods, all these things can cause havoc inside of your gut. We want you to get out of the inside aisles of the grocery store, instead definitely the fast food stores or restaurants, and get into whole food eating. Your gut knows what to do with enzymes. Foods that is dead, these are dead foods. They have no enzymes. Real living food from the garden have enzymes, so you can break those down. All right. Now, if you follow me for any length of time, this looks familiar, okay? I used to do a pantyhose demonstration. Ron's laughing, okay? And where I
Yeah,
would
because I've seen
stretch,
it.
you've seen it, where I take a pantyhose and I pretend it's your colon, okay? And I stretch it over a bowl and I put in McDonald's and I put in donuts and I put in cookies and I put in milk and I put in French fries. And this is what it ends up looking like. And imagine day after day after day, our teenagers eating this way, are senior citizens eating garbage in the homes that they're in, okay? And this can build up. This is not a cast iron pipe. These toxins, and that, by the way, I've done that so many times, it's really, really heavy, okay? And they can build up on the wall of the colon. That colon is 2 inches in diameter in normal size, okay? But it can stretch well over 4 to 5 inches in diameter. So when we do colon cleanses with people, sometimes they lose 4 and 5 and 6 pounds. Okay, now and it's not all fat. Some of it might be fat, but they're cleaning out, and I really recommend that. Okay, because this can lead to toxicity called auto intoxication. And this colon is when you're toxic here, it's going to cause havoc with your small intestines, your liver, your lymphatic system, which is your immune, and your cardiovascular system. Everything is connected. There are no fences in your body. All right. So let's go back to the term auto intoxication. That means your bowel is holding on to a lot of toxins and it's leaking out into the bloodstream because, again, it's not a cast iron pipe. And when that leaks out in the bloodstream, the blood picks it up, it carries it to the liver, and it's trying to get rid of it. So it causes your whole detoxification pathways to get disrupted. Okay. So when we see this, skin issues, bad breath, sluggishness, really, especially constipation, this is time where you really want to do a detox. Okay. So do we really need a detox? Absolutely. Everyone should be doing a cleanse a couple of times a year. Okay. We have toxins in the air we breathe, the food we eat, the stress we're under. So it's really important to rest your digest and clean out the bowel and the liver. Okay. All right. We'll talk about that later. The next thing I want to emphasize is when you do clean this up, you automatically improve your lymphatic system, your immune system, the sinus headaches, the chronic inflammation and mucus mode. I call it getting stuck in mucus mode, where people are really struggling with allergies and even asthma gets worse and things like that. Everything to do with mucus. By opening up the bowel and cleaning the liver, we tell the body there's a pathway for detoxification because your body uses mucus. Okay, think about it. When you get a cold, everybody think about the last time you had a cold, what happens? You start to make more what? Mucus. Okay. And that mucus will go to the sinuses, will go to the lungs. It's your way the body is trying to eliminate that virus out through mucus. So when mucus is building up in the bowel, isn't eliminating the mucus, it's going to find other pathways. And this is why when someone finally gets their bowel open and they get the digestive system working right, the sinuses clear up. All the symptomatic things that are more allergy related and even food allergies start to clear up because of this concept, okay? So again, you have 70% of your gut is wrapped up in your lymph system. And your lymph has to dump its waste into the gut. And if it's blocked, you can't do that. That is worth a lot of money, what I just taught you. If you finally get that concept of that your gut is related to your immune and it's related to your lymph system because it runs right alongside of your circulatory system, but it dumps into the gut. That's why we want to have that bowel open and regular bowel movements, okay? So now let's talk about leaky gut syndrome, okay? Leaky gut syndrome is where you do your small intestines, okay? Your small intestines is not the colon. We talked about the colon with auto intoxication, but now I want to talk about the small intestines where the food goes down in that 21-foot long tube, and this is where the little microvillas are. But there is a thing now that we really know in natural medicine called leaky gut syndrome, where the small intestines gets inflamed, okay? And remnants of your food can leak out of the intestines into your bloodstream. And this is where we really have problems with not just digestion issues, but autoimmune diseases, okay? Because the body sees these foreign invaders leaking into the bloodstream. So let me share a little further on what I mean by that. So inside your small intestines are little tiny microvilli. These little villi are thousands and thousands of feet, okay? That this is where the food gets exchanged in the bloodstream. So imagine this is your food, okay? This is the villi, and this is the bloodstream. Now, these are supposed to be tight, very tight, so only the right nutrients pass through down into the blood. But if you get gaps in the small intestines, then bacteria and toxins and gluten and foreign organisms can leak into the blood. And this is very serious because this now causes the body to go, wait a minute, that is not supposed to be here. And the immune system will attack. Okay. And this is where we get autoimmune diseases from. Okay. One of the main causes for autoimmune is this problem. Okay. So again, autoimmune is where the body attacks and damages its own tissues. Okay, it gets confused. And the immune deficiency and disease decreases the body's ability to fight those invaders, causing vulnerability and infections. And then in response to an unknown trigger, the immune system may begin producing antibodies, and that instead of fighting the infection, they attack the body's own tissues, which we never want to have happen. Okay. Some examples of autoimmune that friends and family and maybe even yourself are fighting are things like very serious stuff like multiple sclerosis, like thyroiditis or Hashimoto's, vitiligo, eczema, where they have the discolorization of the skin, psoriasis. Okay. In fact, I had a little boy several years ago that had vitiligo, and by cleaning his colon and getting his digestive tract, it literally went away. His skin cleared. He has no more splotchiness, no more white patches. It was just actually wonderful. Okay. Celiac disease. Okay. Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. Those are all autoimmune diseases. Rheumatoid arthritis. Okay. Lupus. Peripheral neuropathy and diabetic neuropathy, all autoimmune diseases. So we need to understand that this isn't just all of a sudden the body just goes weird on us. Okay. There's a why here. There's a why. And I'm telling you, with natural medicine and functional medicine, we're looking right into that gut and saying, why are these bacteria getting through? Okay. So now I'm going to go one more stage deeper for my nerds in the group. Okay. So if you don't understand this, don't worry. It's still going to make sense at the end. But there's a term called zonulin. And zonulin is a protein, a chemical that is produced in your body, and it's made in your liver and your small intestines. And its job is to control those gaps. Okay. Its job is to keep only allow what's supposed to go into the small intestines and what isn't, keep it out. Okay. But if our body starts making too much zonulin, those gaps happen. Okay. And then we've got the issues of, again, our immune system being on high alert, and it's definitely not good. And so, what happens when we make too much zonulin, okay, and it's released too often or too high amounts, the tight junctures stay too open, okay, and this can really cause havoc with, again, your bloodstream. Undigested food and bacterial and toxins and microbes and inflammatory compounds. These, what this process basically called is leaky gut syndrome or increased intestinal permeability. All right. Now, what can cause this? There are three main things: overgrowth of harmful organisms like bacteria or yeast in the intestine, or dysbiosis. Okay, and we're going to get into that, like lack of friendly bacteria, people eating a high processed diet, they too much sugar, they start to get too many bad bacteria building up. Okay, then the other one, as I said before, is excess stress and excess cortisol. When you're overstressed, maybe you've gone through a divorce, or maybe you've gone through loss of a loved one, or you're going through some trauma in your life, and we start producing a lot of cortisol. This can really play havoc with your intestines and thus the immune system. Okay. And then gluten and casein from dairy. So gluten from your white flour and casein from dairy. Okay. So little bits of dairy, little pieces of cheese here and there, not so much, but I do not want you drinking like, gallons of milk and things like that. There's a lot of research on casein and dairy can cause a lot of problems. So now I want to talk a little bit about how that 70% of your immune, again, is wrapped up into your gut. And even, gosh, our famous Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. So now I'm going to move into talking about formulas that can help us and what we can do to help repair this. So I'm going to talk about supporting the body's natural ability to heal rather than masking the symptoms. Okay, we're going to look at natural solutions to focus on restoring and balancing and supporting the body's very much the innate healing process. And these approaches are designed basically to restore the whole digestive balance, to support the lining of the intestines, to help grow new epithelial lining and nourish the good bacteria and improve nutrient absorption. So many of us are eating, but we're not absorbing what we're eating. We're not absorbing the nutrients, and that's why we're fatigued. And then really support those immune and detoxifying pathways. So are you guys ready to learn? So if you'd like to know more about what's in my cabinet and what I use on what I've been using for many, many years, you can raise your hand right now. And who would like to learn more about how to balance all this? All right.